wow, this is so cool. There are comments here from, this guy's from Australia, this person's from California, this person's from Italy, and we're all talking about cars, like this community that could come together through this platform. I just found it absolutely fascinating.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kid in a Sweet Shop. So today I have a belter of an episode. But before we go there, don't forget, if you like what you see, please do subscribe and like. Right, back to today. I am meeting a legend in the YouTube world. He started off as a car spotter and has now got over 1 billion views on YouTube. So I'm meeting the one, the only Tim Burton, aka Shmee150.
Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good to see you. Welcome to the Shmuseum.
I know, I'm just looking around going, I don't know what I'm more excited to meet you or see all the cars. Tim Burton, aka Shmee150. I'm so excited to sit and talk to you and get to know you better. I mean, I've been such a big fan, and I've watched for many, many years you create this incredible channel. And, you know, you've done it so brilliantly and so full of knowledge, and just, I just find it one of the nicest car YouTube channels to follow. So just well done on that. I think it's brilliant. But I really want to get to the nitty gritty, which is, you know, where did it all come from? Where did this love of cars come from? Was it, you know, was your dad involved in cars? Were you born on the side of a racetrack? Where did it all happen?
Well, thank you for coming down. It's great to have you here.
I know.
It's been quite the journey.
Yes.
Certainly, I grew up, I think, like any petrol head. I was a car guy from the moment I could speak, you know,
Really?
from being young age. My dad always had nice cars, like a BMW M car or an AMG or something like that. So I was, I guess, had a bit of that sound of a nice V8 or something going on around the house. But I think it was really following events and things like the Gumball, and when you were taking part in that as well, and these kind of experiences that are even beyond the car. It's what's the car about, what's the passion about, the community, the travel, all of this. And that's basically led me into the world that I'm in now, the world of shooting videos about something I love, which I still can't believe that's somehow what I managed to get to do. But it's really been from, I think, the whole of my life.
Really? And so when you were a youngster kind of growing up, going through school, were you always kind of like looking out of the classroom window going, right, this is my dream car, was it that kind of, were you that obsessed, or?
It was, you know what, it was more that my family's from up north, we live down in the south, so even on, you know, trips to go and visit relations, we'd be sitting on the motorway, and the thing I would do to keep myself entertained was try and call out every single model car coming towards us.
I did the same.
Yeah, I think that's something we all have in.
It was like 50p for a Ferrari. I remember it, and it was kind of like 20p.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Cool.
that was like, oh God, and the longer journeys, I was like raking it in. Dad was like, oh,
it's a
shouldn't have
genius
said
way
that.
for the parents to get you to stop asking, are we there yet?
Are we there? Are we almost there? It's fantastic, really.
No, so that was, you know, that kind of thing. And my dad has always been heavily involved in advanced driving, teaching advanced driving.
Oh, really?
Police driving schools, that kind of thing. So I was always interested as well in the driving side of it.
Oh, so
as
your
well
dad
as just the car.
was like an instructor?
Not a driving instructor, not as his career per se, but something he did as a hobby, as a pastime.
Brilliant.
But teaching in high-end clubs, in terms of not necessarily the cars, but in terms of the high-end driving standards.
Yeah.
So I was always interested in how do you do an IAM commentary? How do you analyze the road up ahead of you? So I've always been, I think, into all elements of the car world. And then when I moved to London for studies as a teenager, and I was really fascinated by how many, firstly, nice cars you'd see around, but secondly, how many nice number plates. I'm a very mathematical guy, so I loved it if I ever would see, you know, a really short number plate combination or something.
Going, oh, he must be wealthy. So when you went through school, you were a bit of a scholar. You did well at mathematics. You did well, or no?
Oh,
I came out of school with nothing. So.
Oh no, my subjects at school were like maths, further maths, IT, computing, and physics.
Oh,
Those were
okay.
my A levels.
So you're a brain.
I was full on in that direction.
Yeah.
destined for a career in the finance world, which is where I started, actually. I did start in an investment consultancy.
Yeah.
I say start, that's where I suppose I had my former serious job, if we could say. I mean, this is a serious job, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it.
Very serious.
Yeah, so definitely, I guess, heading in that direction. But I think at school, like everyone, I remember what was on the first time I put a poster of a car up. It's a Ferrari F50. I remember the exact poster and what it looked like. And obviously always into automotive computer games,
Right.
far too addictively.
Yeah. PC, or were you console?
Everything.
Nice.
Need for Speed on the computer.
Yeah.
Project Gotham Racing. Just everything.
Brilliant. Okay, so it was in the blood. It was there.
I mean, I've actually got an arcade machine here of Sega Rally 2.
I think
I had many competitive years racing against my dad. He would stay in the arcade for hours to try and beat the time that myself and my younger brother would get.
I love that. And you've had, is that
yeah,
the one?
I had to go and get the exact same. It's not the same machine, but the same type.
But it's the same.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So, okay, so you kind of started your first big job. Cars were there. You were always kind of like looking at them, seeing those number plates. When was that point where you decided to actually go out and start filming? Was this a big...
It's actually much more gradual than people would think. I think nowadays you can say, yes, I want to go and create some social media content, and you just get started. You just start sharing. But back then, and we're talking roughly 2007 was when I started posting anything.
Yeah.
I had been going to car events, like when Gumball had started in London, when you'd been there yourself, and I'd been to all sorts of different things, the London Motor Show back when they happened, taking photos, but not doing anything with it. Facebook arrived in the UK around 2006, I wanted to say, which was the year I left school. So I was very early on the social media bandwagon, I guess, in terms of the fact that anybody a year or two older than myself wouldn't have joined while they were still at school to catch up with all of their friends in the future, and anybody younger couldn't have been on it yet because they had the age rules. You had to be going to a university or college. So I was excited by the idea of the tech side of things. You know, I'd been doing computer science, so that was an area of interest to me, and I obviously loved the cars and I loved the gadgets. I was always into cameras. I had a digital camera, I want to say when I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Amazing. Like
back when they were shooting at 0.3 megapixels, which for anybody into tech now is nothing.
Exactly, but it was amazing at the time.
And a 16 megabyte memory stick would cost.
Yeah.
I got one for a Christmas present once. It was like £100. Just
like
just
Holy
crazy.
Grail.
Yes, I could take 20 photos, or whatever the number would have been.
Yeah.
But I was posting pictures of cars on Facebook. So you had
under your own name.
Just on
you
my
hadn't
private
come up with
personal.
Shmee
No.
yet.
I mean, I was using Shmee150 was like my gaming name online.
Yeah.
So it was the name I used for playing computer games, for signing up to anything, MSN Messenger, my Hotmail.
I was Kidor.
Yeah.
Kidor.
I think everybody of that kind of generation has a funny name. Now people tend to use their real name.
Yeah, exactly.
But it wasn't back then.
Yeah, we had to be incognito. We had to be like,
you had to be faceless. Just a nickname. So I was posting photos, and what actually started happening was, I'd take pictures of what I would see around London. I went to work in the city. I would see lots of cool cars, and I either cycled or I was lucky to have a parking space. So I drove from West London to the city of London, and I'd see tons of nice things. And I'd take photos and put them on Facebook, and various friends started kind of following that, started engaging with that. So whenever I'd upload something new, it would be a trigger for engagement and discussion. We'd start talking about whatever it was, whether it was a new Aston Martin or a car that had shipped in from another country or something. It would be a talking point. And obviously this is the same time that Google purchased YouTube. This was really early days. You had Google videos, you still had all platforms that don't really exist now, and you didn't yet have Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat and short form content, and it's all very different now. And it was really, like I say, a gradual thing then over the next couple of years that I went from posting on Facebook to posting on forums, message boards online, to getting some interaction. And then I kind of fell into video just by mistake, because I used to enjoy going on skiing holidays. I bought a new video camera. I wanted to test it before I went to the mountains. Filmed a car, stuck it on YouTube, because I'd always been taking photos of cars. So I was like, hey, why not?
So the first time you opened your YouTube account was to do some skiing videos?
So I'd actually been uploading on YouTube since the very beginning. In fact, on Google Videos before it became YouTube. So I was the guy at school who had a tape camcorder who would film like the first 15 rugby match or like that kind of stuff. And I'd go, videos with my housemates. You know, we'd make funny videos and funny things. So I was the guy who'd go and edit all of that up. It feels like a long time ago now. So my YouTube channel actually had a bunch of that kind of thing on it. Which is really retrospectively quite funny. I removed them all when it started being about cars because it made no sense whatsoever.
Exactly. What are we watching?
But you know, with hindsight, looking back, I've still got all of those. I saved everything, thankfully. So I can still see the first videos. And in 2009, I had made a couple of videos. We had a big snow day that February, and I had driven around central London in the one series I owned at the time, and I put snow patrol chasing cars over the top, and it just made like a kind of time-lapse inspired by, do you know the Rendezvous movie in Paris? Yeah, so it was inspired by that.
They didn't have snow, though, going at those speeds.
But just the idea of going around a city centre with scenery and with obviously not blasting around central London.
Exactly, sideways.
That wouldn't have gone very well. But I'd always loved that video, and that video has been actually a huge inspiration behind lots of things that I've done since.
So you had a really artistic eye as well as the kind of the brain to go... To kind of create conversation.
I wouldn't say I'm the most creative person in the world, but I certainly always enjoyed photography. And I mean, I did actually take photography as an extra AS level back then, because I just enjoyed everything to do with cameras, everything to do with that, like capturing the moment and being able to share the moment.
Yeah, it's special.
So I did have to remove that video because copyright music on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
I still got it though myself. I've actually shared it once since. I have shared it since, but with a change of soundtrack. Yeah. Because I had to. So like I say, it was really then, you know, over that period from 2006 until early 2010 when I filmed. So in January 2010, actually at Bibendum, obviously in London, there was a Top Gear magazine awards evening. Right. And out the front they had the latest Ferrari and Lamborghini, which was a 458 Italia and a Murcielago Super Veloce. Mr. Clarkson was there amongst others, and I just filmed some clips from the sidelines. Brilliant. Obviously not invited to anything, but I lived half a mile away.
With the paparazzi.
I was just sitting. I remember my flatmate at the time. We drove along in his Mini and sat on the other side of the road, and I'm like pointing out the window with this new handycam that I just bought, film a video, and it's funny now because I think it got maybe 5,000 views in the first couple of days because it was a news story. Yeah, it's brilliant. And I was like, and obviously there's no monetization or business or anything. There's no intention. I was like, wow, this is so cool. There are comments here from, this guy's from Australia, this person's from California, this person's from Italy, and we're all talking about cars, like this community that could come together through this platform. I just found it absolutely fascinating because I was already watching other people on YouTube, right, other car channels, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's amazing what these guys see, but I actually do as well. You know, why don't I try this? Why don't I try and make a video? So there was no plan or anything. It was just like, why not?
So that was the moment where you suddenly got 5,000 views, you got really interesting engagement. Were you still kind of juggling a job,
No, still very much. This is around the time I started my job.
Oh, okay.
Shall we say? So this would be after university.
Okay.
I guess I must have already. I think I'd already started by the point I uploaded my first video. But I worked in the tech department of an investment consultancy. So already in a bit that world, and we were working on projects that connected to the social media world itself. Okay. So doing something social media myself was really like part of learning what we were doing in the corporate world as well. Yeah. And it just so happened that one of the co-CEOs, co-founders of the company was also a bit of a car guy.
Oh, so he loved it.
Yeah, so we were full on talking cars, and they were like super supportive of things I was getting up to. It was amazing. I had so much luck, and you know, I obviously believe you have to make your own luck and you work for things, but I had so much luck in the sense of the way things unfolded at that time.
But the universe was obviously making a little plan.
Well, it's funny now because even throughout that year, obviously after that first video, you get in your head, hey, I've had 5,000 views, I'm going to get 5,000 views on the next thing I upload.
Oh, yeah.
No, 20.
I know that very well.
Like, no, it doesn't work like that. But I really enjoyed being able to talk with people who liked the same thing I liked. Yes. So I started spending much more time, rather than just taking a photo of a car that I would have driven past, pulled over and gone to see, but actively going out to go car spotting, to go finding cars. I guess at the time, train spotting existed, plane spotting existed, but car spotting, for some reason, never really formed like that. There have always been amazing cars around Mayfair, Knightsbridge, etc., and obviously the same in Monaco, in Los Angeles, in all sorts of different places around the world. But it was really the start, I think, of that movement when social media arrived.
Yeah.
Because it meant you could find other people
In
like
this
the same.
community. Was there the same people when you heard about something or a launch or a car arriving? Was there the same people that used to kind of gather?
There were vastly fewer people then, of course. But it's funny because some of the people I would go car spotting with in early 2010 are still really good friends. Because we've spent so many hours going to car events together.
Yeah.
Doing shoots together. Some people who are also making YouTube videos, some people who are photographers, and their careers have expanded in the same way. And I've always been a believer that cars bring people together. It's amazing
100%.
how if you have a passion for automotive, it speaks through everything.
And it's transcendental. It goes around the world.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it doesn't. If you meet someone and you go, "That's a lovely car," if you go, "Oh, that's a nice pair of trousers," they kind of go, talking about it a bit weird. You've got to love your car. They're like, "Oh, brilliant,"
Yes.
and it does have.
It talks through any background, any gender, race, everything. It doesn't matter. If you like cars, you can have that conversation. You can go for a drive. You can be like on the same level as one another. And it's one of the things, even through to today, that I appreciate the most about what I do is I can turn up somewhere completely random that I haven't expected and instantly talk about cars with people.
Yeah.
It's just I guess the icebreaker happens because people know I do car things.
Yeah, exactly.
So once you've got through that, it's like, right, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
Let's go.
exactly. No, I totally agree. Okay, so the first video started going well. The business was being very kind of lenient, letting you be creative and do these films. When did that moment happen where you decided going, gosh, this could actually be a full-time job and I'm going to have to say goodbye to my tech job and I'm going for it?
Again, it didn't happen overnight. It's curious because obviously at the start there was no kind of earning money from this. And obviously money is a very taboo topic, but it took a while. I remember my first month with some earnings, I think it was at the end of 2010, and it was 60 cents. So it was
so exciting, though.
But it was exciting. It was really exciting, even though I was definitely probably supposed to be focusing more on my real job. It was quite exciting. Yeah. It was quite exciting. So it took years before that became anything substantial. I remember it. You had to earn, I think, $60, or maybe it was $100, which at the time would have been about £60. Could be that before you could get a payout.
Right.
But I remember, the first month was that. The next month was $3. The next month was maybe $40.
Yeah.
And then whenever it was, came along the month where I actually managed to get my first withdrawal from Google AdSense. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I upgraded from my 1 Series that I had to an Audi S5, an Audi S5 convertible.
Lovely. Yeah.
First year or two of work had gone quite well, and I was like, hey, I'm a young guy, I've got no dependents or anything else to do, so let's go blow it all on a nice German car, 'cause that's what you do, right?
Absolutely.
Young and stupid, perhaps, but hey.
No, it's a good car. It's a very good car.
Thankfully.
I would be with you. I am with you. I did the RS6, though.
Okay.
I was slightly later on.
Like I say, it was over a couple of years, but what got really interesting is when things were clearly picking up and it was becoming something, I had a very open conversation with my bosses at work. And like I say, I had a good relationship and still do to this day with both of the co-founders of the company I work for, which is great. See them both every now and then. And, I said, hey, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I don't want to just leave my job and go and do it, but this is the position I'm in. And they basically offered me the completely unique scenario of would I like to go down from 5 days a week down to 4 days a week to give myself a little bit more time.
Wow.
And then ultimately 6 months after that down to 3 days a week. And that's pretty unheard of in the corporate banking world. So this is why I say unbelievably lucky that was an option, because when I was in full-time employment, I certainly didn't have enough time to devote the hours that would be needed to grow the channel. You have to go full on. You've always had to go full on if you want to really, make the absolute most of it all. For about the first 12 months, it was very flat. Don't get me wrong. I was earning probably a couple of thousand a month or something, enough to be able to cover my costs.
2014.
Yes,
that year.
Enough to be able to cover some costs, and I was continuing to finance myself into cars I shouldn't have been financing myself into.
Right.
But a big part of the channel had always been, the car side had been sharing the ownership experiences of the cars.
Yeah.
Because in the same way that nobody understood the concept of that being an occupation, people who were in the position to be lucky enough to drive cars like the Aston Vantage or the Audi
never
R8
talk
I
about
had
it. Yeah.
would never share content about it because one,
God,
they're too
no.
busy with their career, and two, it wasn't
Probably
really
privacy.
the dumb thing.
Yeah, they would be. Yeah.
What is this unknown? I don't want people knowing what I do type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I was creating those videos, it was really an inside look into what's it like to take one of these cars on a road trip, to change the exhaust on one of these cars. And a big, big step forward in 2014 was when I purchased a McLaren 12C.
I'm wishing everybody a happy new year. I hope you had a fantastic one. I hope you enjoyed our part 1 of our Shmee150 interview. We've got part 2 that's coming up on the 16th of January. So make sure you don't miss it. Bye for now.